It was not too long ago that we in Louisiana, that our state legislature, Governor Edwards, signed the Justice Reinvestment Act, which called for lighter sentencing, sometimes no sentencing at all, to those convicted of a crime, and released a whole lot of prisoners early. You wrote a letter to the governor. You got a problem with that, huh?
Well, the governor and I just disagree. He thinks our problem in Louisiana is that we have too many prisoners. I think our problem in Louisiana is that we have too many people committing crimes. When I look around Louisiana, and I think, what are the 10 things we need the most? In my top 10, I don't put more prisoners on the streets. Take Shreveport, Robert. I mean, Shreveport was just listed one of America's 25 murder capitals. Our crime rate's 126% higher than the national average. Our violent crime rate in Shreveport is 146% above the national average. The governor says, and his Department of Corrections Secretary, they say, well, we're just letting nonviolent criminals go. Well, they forgot to tell the nonviolent criminals. I mean, 2 of them promptly committed murder.
Do you anticipate those numbers going up for, say, Shreveport-Bossier as a result of these efforts?
Well, Erin, I hope not. But if you look at what the district attorneys say, and I trust their numbers better than I do the corrections numbers, one district attorney has said that in his judicial district, the recidivism or recommit rate has been 25%. Another district attorney in the 23rd Judicial District Court says his has been a third. Now, remember, that's over 8 months. The normal period of time to compute recidivism rates is 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So at the rate we're going, we'll, unfortunately, if it doesn't slow down, we'll set records.
Corrections Secretary Jimmy LeBlanc cites a recidivism rate of 12% of the 1,900 who were released early. Do you strongly I know you said you challenge those numbers. What makes you suspicious of those numbers?
That they're coming from the Department of Corrections. The FBI is crawling all over the Department of Corrections, as you know. Our warden at Angola had to resign. Our warden and business manager at the Boyles Correctional Institute has been indicted. There have been a number of other indictments of senior-level people. The legislative auditor recently did a report about the Department of Corrections, and it concluded that our DOC, as we call it, doesn't know where 11% of its prisoners are. In other words, they know they're somewhere in the system. They just can't tell you where, which prison. The legislative auditor also pointed out that the Department of Corrections seems to have a problem with computing release dates accurately. And it just doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
Mr. John, the governor says, the governor says that you're kind of cooking the books for your own political gain. And from what I can see from what he put on Twitter, you're trying to undermine his meeting with the president. What do you say about that?
Well, that's what the governor always says. You know, when he we've got probably the worst economy in the United States, and when I or others say, well, maybe, Governor, now is not the good time to raise taxes, he says, it's all political. I'm bipartisan, you're political. We have a voluntary work requirement for our food stamp program. When the governor got rid of that and people protested, said, well, maybe that's not a good idea. You know, maybe we ought to encourage people to work and they wouldn't need food stamps. So you're being political. I'm bipartisan. You're not. That's generally what they always say when they don't have any facts.
He invited the president to come tour Angola. Do you think that'll happen?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of the president's schedule. Obviously, I have enough trouble paddling my own canoe. If I wrote the president a letter, and I'll do it again if he decides to come, just giving him the whole story. I just thought it was important that he understand in my opinion anyway, the prisoner release program in Louisiana hasn't worked.
Did he respond to your letter at all, the president?
Not yet, but I just sent it.
Okay.
He will. I mean, the president, I'll say, I'll pat him on the back here. I've never, been in federal government before, but my colleagues tell me that he is incredibly responsive. I called him, not last week, but I think the week before last. I don't try to bother him every week.
Mr.
I
John,
called him on the Thursday afternoon. He called me right back Friday morning. I was shocked at how responsive he was.
Mr. John, not to over speculate, but what would Governor John Kennedy do to reframe? Would Governor Kennedy do away or attempt to do away with the Justice Reinvestment Act?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't want to answer that as Governor Kennedy because I'm not governor, and I don't know if I'm going to run. But what I think the governor ought to do is it. It takes a big person sometimes to admit you made a mistake. President Trump just did it when he separated kids from their parents at the border. After about 3 days, he came back and said, well, I made a mistake. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to fix it. I think John Bel ought to do that here, but he just admit his program wasn't a good idea. I doubt he'll do that because this is part of a national Democratic Party agenda. So at a minimum, I hope that he will go to the District Attorneys Association and go to the Sheriff's Association and ask each group to appoint 5 of their DAs and or sheriffs. The governor doesn't pick them. They pick them. The DAs and sheriffs pick them. And let them review these people before they let them go